Dear learners, welcome back to the last video session of this module, Early Childhood Education Contents. We have discussed about the concept of early childhood education, concept of NCF, Early Childhood Education Curriculum Framework 2020, developed by NCERT, and what should be the content to be included in the Early Childhood Education Curriculum for their holistic development, which is aimed by NEP 2020. The earlier video presentation has covered the domain of physical and motor, sensory, cognitive development. Today we will focus on the contents to be covered in the ECC curriculum for the development of remaining domains of development like language and literacy, socio-economical development and ethical development, as well as aesthetic and cultural development. So let's start with the language and literacy development. Language and literacy development is a crucial component of early childhood care and education as per NEP 2020. The focus is on developing communication skills, pre-reading and pre-writing abilities through play-based, experiential and multilingual approaches. There are some key components of language and literacy development. First one is listening and speaking skill, which indicates the oral language development. Under this, the first one is storytelling and narration. So to develop this skill, the teacher must include listening to folk tales, moral stories and real-life experiences. Then for rhymes, songs and poems, the teacher should teach through action songs, lullabies and rhymes in multiple languages. Then for picture, talk and discussion, the teacher should use describing images, picture books and flashcards to improve the vocabulary of the children. Then role play and conversation is an important component under the listening and speaking skill. So for development of this skill, the students should be engaged in dialogue through pretended play like shopkeepers, teacher, doctor, nurse, etc. in the classroom. Then for developing the listening games and sound awareness, students should be identified with the environmental sound, musical tones and phonemes. Then another important component of this language literacy is pre-reading skill, which indicates the print awareness and phonemic awareness. So under this, the first one is book handling and print awareness. So for this, the students should be given opportunity to recognize that the books carry information and follow text directionally, like from left to right and from right to left. Then they should be also given the opportunity to identify letters, numbers and symbols in the environment, like labels, sign and posters. Then for alphabet and sound recognition, the students should be given the opportunities to recognize letters and the sound through phonemic awareness activities. Then for matching and sorting activities, they should be given the opportunity to match words with images and sorting similar sounds. For example, playing games like I spy, that means I spy something that starts with B or she, etc. like this. Then for the development of the pre-writing skill, which indicates the fine motor development early writing, the student should be given the opportunity to scribbling and tracing. So this will be done by freehand drawing, finger paintings and tracing letters in sand, floor or on the paper. Then for hand-eye coordination activities, the activities included threading beads, clay modeling, tearing and pasting, using tweezers and puzzles. For pattern writing and letter information, practices should be done in the drawing lines, curves, zigzags, and it will also develop hand control in the children before they forming the letters. Then for name recognition and writing, they should be identified with the letters with their own name and common words. Then for multilingual exposure and language enrichment, the mother tongue-based learning should be encouraged. The children should be encouraged to make communication in their home language to build confidence. It will also help to develop gradual exposure to other languages like bilingual or multilingual approaches will help in this aspect. Then for development of poems and song in different languages, the teacher should teach rhymes and simple phrases in local, regional and national languages. Then, in this regard, the use of TLM, the teaching learning material, is very important. So the teacher can use flashcards, puppets, chart, digital stories and interactive games. This was for the development of language and literacy. Now let's come to the socio-economic development. So, the National Educational Policy NEP 2020 emphasizes that holistic development should be made in the children, which includes social and emotional skill in the early childhood education. The curriculum fosters positive relationship, teamwork, empathy, and the self-regulation through play-based and experiential learning. There are some components of social development in the ECC curriculum. First one is self-identity and awareness. So for this, the students must recognize name, family, and personal identity. They should be able to express likes, dislikes, and emotions. Moreover, they must understand the basic hygiene and self-care. Second important component under this domain is emotional development. So, for this, the students must identify and express the emotion like their happiness, sad, angry state, etc. They must manage their frustration, stress, waiting for turns, and handling conflicts among the peers. Then they must also develop self-regulation through stories, role play, and relaxation exercises. Then another important domain under this category is social interaction and communication. So for this, they must know how to greet, thank, and make polite expression. They must learn to listen and take turns in conversation and participate in group activities and cooperative play. Then, for the development of values and ethics, the teacher must teach them honesty, kindness, respect, and fairness. They must be encouraged to help others and be responsible to others. They must understand cultural diversity and inclusivity. Then, for development of group behavior and teamwork, they must participate in group games and collaborative projects. They must learn to share, compromise, and resolve conflict among themselves. They must also engage in peer interaction and community participation. Then, for development of awareness for social environment, they must understand the family roles, community helpers, and festivals. They also be given the opportunity to explore different occupations and societal roles. Then they must be introduced with a basic civic sense like cleanliness, helping others, and respecting nature. So, under the socio-economic or social development, we have briefly discussed about the emotional development and how it can be developed through the ECC curriculum. Let's now talk about in detail about the emotional development and how it can be developed among the children through the ECC curriculum. So, like the other components or domain, your emotional development has some component. First one is identifying and expressing emotion. So as discussed or as mentioned, they must be able to recognize basic emotion. That means they should express their happiness, sadness, anger, fear, and excitement. Because during this period, the child develops lots of their emotion. Then they must also able to use words and non-verbal expression to communicate their feeling. They should be able to role play and storytelling about different emotion. Then, second important component of emotional development is emotional regulation and self-control. They must learn to calm down through deep breathing and relaxation technique. So teacher must teach them some relaxation technique and deep breathing technique. Then they should be able to practice some waiting to turns while playing games and while rhyming in the classroom. Then they should be able to practice handling stress, frustration, and self-discipline. They should be able to use positive coping strategies like drawing, music, and storytelling. Then another important component under emotional development is building self-confidence and independence, which is very much essential for their future development. They should be encouraged to make decisions in their daily activities, like in the classroom, in the playground, or anywhere in their day-to-day life. They should be able to develop a sense of responsibility. They should be able to take self-care and tidying up. They should be encouraged to make participation in group discussion to express their opinion and views. Then, regarding the development of empathy and understanding others' emotion, they should be able to identify emotion in the peers or in their friends, in the teachers and family members. They should be engaged in kindness activities like helping, sharing the tiffins, and comforting other friends who are in stress or distress. Moreover, they should be also able to use stories, puppet show, and picture to discuss emotion among the peers and with the teachers. Then for management of conflict and problem solving, they should be taught to resolve conflict peacefully and respectfully. They should be encouraged to participate in negotiation and compromise in play setting. They should be taught how to ask for help when needed. So this was about the developmental aspect in the domain of social, emotional aspect of child. Then let's come to the ethical development. So we have already discussed about the NCEF ECC, which was developed by NCERT in the year 2020. So the NCEF ECC under the NEP 2020 emphasized that ethical development as a crucial component of socio-emotional and ethical development in the early childhood care and education. It aims to help children develop moral values, empathy, and responsible behavior through experiential and play-based learning. There are some content for ethical development in ECC. First one is developing moral values and character. First one is honesty and truthfulness. So for development of these certain particular characteristics, they should be encouraged to speak the truth through storytelling, like Pancharatra tales or other stories they like. Then they should be able to develop a sense of respect and kindness to others. For this, teachers should teach them how to respect the elders, peers, and teachers through real-life interaction. Then, to be responsible and cooperative, they should be assigned in simple classroom duties to instill a sense of responsibility. Then, through learning through stories, role play, and conversation, they will be able to develop morality. Like folk tales, fables, and religious stories, it will help them to develop some values. Then, for role playing in ethical dilemmas, it will help them to enacting situations that teach fairness, sharing, and kindness. The teacher can make discussion on real-life scenario. It will encourage the children to express their thought on simple ethical question. For practicing empathy and gratitude, the children should be encouraged to share toys, food, and material with others, especially with their peers in the classroom. Then for gratitude circle, daily practice of expressing gratitude for family, friends, and nature will be helpful for the teachers. Then they should be able to develop a sense of responsibility and gratitude and empathy towards the animals and plant. Simple tasks like feeding the birds, watering the plant will help in this aspect. Then for encouraging ethical behavior in daily life, like greetings and politeness, children should be taught to say please, thank you and sorry. Then for play in group activities, they should be encouraged to run, taking and teamwork in games. It will help to develop fair play among the children. Then following simple rules and responsibilities, teaching discipline through routine like cleaning up after playtime will develop a sense of responsibility among the children. Then again for environmental and social awareness, the children must know how to respect for nature. So for this, teachers should teach his children how to keep their surrounding clean. It may be their school, playground or daycare. Then for community development, still the teacher should engage the students in some small act like making greetings card for helpers, like for the school staff, parent and the caretakers in the daycare or in the play schools. Then for development of inclusion and diversity, the teacher should teach the students about the different culture, festivals and respecting differences in the caste, creed and culture. So this was about the content to be included in the ECC curriculum for socioeconomic as well as ethical development. Then what are the content that should be included for the aesthetic and cultural development in ECC curriculum? As we know that this is one of the important component of NCF ECCE. The National Education Policy 2020 emphasizes aesthetic and cultural development as a crucial part of the early childhood care and education. This domain nurtures creativity, imagination, artistic expression, and cultural awareness in the young children. What are the key components of this domain? First one is visual art, which is expressed through art and craft. So for this, they must know drawing and painting. So some activities like freehand drawing, coloring and painting using crayons, watercolor and natural dyes will help the child to develop practicing these drawing and painting activities. Then clay modeling and craft work. Making objects from clay, paper folding and simple DIY craft will help the children to make some craft work. Then for collage and printing, some leaf printing, hand printing, vegetable printing and making collage using natural materials will help the child. Then for weaving and thread work, the children should be taught some basic weaving activities which can be done through paper stripe, threading beads and making decorative items. For development of performing arts which include music, dance and drama, the children should be taught about rhymes, lullabies and folk song in the mother tongue. They should be able to do some simple musical instrumental activities like drums, bells and other musical instruments. They should be able to sing along with rhyme and movement. For dance and movement activities, teachers should include pre-dance and guided movement activities in the curriculum. The teacher should also use some traditional folk dances and simple choreographed action in the class while teaching. Expression of emotion through movement like happy dance, sad dance will also helpful for the teacher to develop dance and movement activities in the children. For dramatic play and role playing, puppet shows and storytelling with using expression will be helpful. Then enacting traditional and folk tales, dressing up activities representing different community roles will also be helpful for dramatic play and role playing. Then for storytelling, folklore and cultural awareness, the teacher should use some stories from local culture, Pancharatna, Jataka tales and moral stories. Then the roles of grandparents in storytelling session should also be included. Then for festive celebration and cultural activity, teacher must introduce major national and regional festivals through art, dance and storytelling. Then making festival related craft like the diyas for Diwali, Rangoli pattern, Eid cards, Christmas bells are also encouraged. Then for development of folk tradition and development of heritage awareness, children should be encouraged to learn simple folk song and dances. They must be able to showcase traditional attire, food and art form, as well as they are also encouraged to visit to local cultural site, museum or performances. Thus we can say that NCF ECCE establishes a very high quality ECE across India by suggesting to incorporate these content and activities on the various domains of development in the ECC curriculum in the line with NEP 2020. It encourages learning through play and expression rather than textbook. Moreover, it supports inclusion, diversity, and local cultural integration in education. This framework serves as the guiding document for policymakers, teachers, and stakeholders in implementing foundational education effectively. So, this discussion indicates one important thing, that play must be integrated in the ECC curriculum, because we have already discussed that the NEP as well as NCF ECCC 2020 emphasize on joyful and play-based education curriculum for the foundational stage. As such, play is an integral component of ECE curriculum. Till now, whatsoever content we have discussed for holistic development of the young children, all are directly or indirectly related to the play activities that are to be incorporated in the ECC program as well as in the curriculum. Learning through play is one of the significant pedagogical approach of early childhood education. Children should engage in play activities which are neither too challenging nor too easy for their developmental level. In a play-based approach, stimulating materials and activities are made available by the teacher, and children self-select activities according to their interest at each point of time and learn at their own pace. The teacher's role is that of the facilitator, and he or she does not carry out any specific structured activities. Research on play in a context of the ECC has addressed the aspect of play curriculum relationship. These studies are primarily focused on the respective academic domain or area of development with play. They viewed play as a means to foster child development in the domains of development. Researchers focuses on play in its multiple forms like social, pretend or object, and recognize it as a distinct child-initiated activity with its own unique contribution to the child development. In the next module, detailed discussion will be made on play in ECC and the different types of play to incorporate in ECC. Now let's move to another aspect. As we are discussing about the curricular aspect of early childhood education, as a preschool teacher, an Anganwadi teacher or teacher of a Balvadika, you must be familiar with a very popular and a recent idea that is known as Jadui Pitara. So what is Jadui Pitara? Jadui Pitara is an interactive, play-based learning resource developed by NCERT for the early childhood care and education as per the National Education Policy 2020. It is designed to make foundational learning engaging, joyful, and holistic. There are some features of Jadui Pitara. First one is multi-sensory play-based approach. That means it encourages learning through stories, rhymes, games, toys, puzzles, and activity sheets. It also makes uses of audio-visual aids to make learning fun and inclusive. Then it covers all developmental domains like physical and motor, cognitive, language and literacy, socio-emotional, aesthetic and cultural development. It encourages experiential learning through self-life experiences and hands-on activities. The bilingual and contextual learning material is another important characteristic of Jadui Pitara, which is available in multiple Indian languages for regional inclusivity. It uses local stories, folk tradition, and cultural elements to connect with children's abilities. Again, it is aligned with Nipun Bharat and FLN goals, which support the early literacy and numeracy development as per the National Initiative for Proficiency in Reading with Understanding and Numeracy, which is shortly called as Nipun Bharat. It focuses on school readiness for children transitioning to primary education. There are some components of Jadui Pitara. First one is activity books and flashcards, which enhance the cognitive and language skill. Second one is storybook and rhymes, which encourages imagination and moral learning. Third one is puzzles and board games, which is helpful to develop problem solving and social skill. Then fourth one is toys and manipulatives, which improve fine motor skill and creativity. And last component is posters and visual aids, which make use of learning visually engaging and interactive. This Jadui Pitara is very significant because it makes learning stress-free and engaging for young children. It encourages learning through play as recommended by NEP 2020, as well as it supports inclusiveness and equitable education for all children, including those from the diverse background. So, Lana, as we conclude this module, it can be stated that the early childhood care and education curriculum as outlined by the NCF-FS 2022 is designated to provide a holistic, play-based and developmentally appropriate learning experience for children aged 3 to 8 years. It emphasizes experiential learning, ensuring that children develop foundational skill in a very joyful and engaging manner. So overall, this NCF 2020 lays a strong foundation for lifelong learning by focusing on the child's overall well-being, creativity, and school readiness. It ensures an inclusive, stress-free education, fostering a generation of confident and curious learner. I hope this lecture will be helpful for you to understand the ECC curriculum and lead you to implement this curriculum in a meaningful way in your school, Anganwadi and Balbhatikas. In the upcoming module, you will be introduced with a very important and interesting topic of integration of play in the early childhood education. Thank you for listening.